Chess friends, I hope you are doing well. Today, I have a very stunning and incredible game that was played between AlphaZero and me. This game is very prophylactic, so let's get started without wasting any time. I started the game with e4 and AlphaZero responded with e5. After a few moves, we have the Ruy Lopez that I initiated. Here, black can go with d6 or other moves with the bishop or knight, but instead, AlphaZero played f5, which is a very cunning move. It's challenging because you can't easily capture the f-pawn. After e4, it attacks the knight, so, when f5 is played, you cannot actually capture the pawn on e5 easily. In this situation, I played knight c3 and after knight f6, I captured the pawn on f5. Many inexperienced chess players might consider playing d5, but that would be a vulnerable move, although it creates central pawns on e4 and d5. The knight is pinned and I can capture the e5 pawn. Instead, we have bishop f5 from AlphaZero, a beautiful move. Many chess players might think of capturing the knight here. However, after knight takes e5 and the subsequent bishop takes f2 check, a stunning move from AlphaZero, the king is forced to move, and then queen d4 check follows, attacking both the king and the knight, winning the knight on the next move and exposing my king. This creates a favorable position for AlphaZero. Instead of falling into this trap, I played knight takes e5. Here, many cockroach type of chess players might think of considering knight takes e5, but I can respond with d4, attacking to these pieces, and you will face the consequences. So going back to the position, AlphaZero castled, and I moved my knight back. Then, after a6, AlphaZero played d5, dominating the position like a boss, but I responded with d5. Making a dominant move in the center, AlphaZero might seem like the dominator, but I am the true dominator here. The bishop moves back and I played bishop g5. Many lower-rated players might think of capturing the knight, but that would be a mistake. Instead, I played knight takes d5, attacking the knight on f6. AlphaZero responded with knight e7 to protect the pawn and relieve the pressure from the bishop. I moved my bishop back to attack the pawn with two pieces. Playing c6 would be a bad choice because after capture and recapture, I can play g4, creating two connected passed pawns. After g5 and a4 a5, I can place my knight on e5, even if the queen moves, and play f4, creating a majority in the center and kingside. This would be very advantageous for me. After c6, we have some exchanges on d5, and the king moves. I castled. AlphaZero then played bishop takes h2 check, sacrificing the bishop as a tempo to get compensation on d5. Can you guess what AlphaZero played next? He captured the c2 bishop after I moved my rook, intending to exchange all pieces for a draw, but I aimed to win, attacking the c7 pawn. So, let me share a beautiful quote about life. Life is not about waiting for the storms to pass, it's about learning how to dance in the rain. After a few moves, we have rook e1 and I created double rooks on the board. Additionally, the knight can come into the g5, attacking these pieces along with the queen, which was crucial. After a couple of moves, we had rook e8 and knight g6 check. King h7 seemed logical, but AlphaZero isn't fearful. After the knight check, we had queen f5, aiming for a check and the rook outpost. After rook e3, a few moves later, we had f4, the pawn is under attack by the queen. Despite having two b and c passed pawns, I created a significant advantage by capturing the knight. Knight e7 followed by queen g6 check arrived, leading to a checkmate after a few moves. So, returning to the position, we have rook to f8, followed by king to h2, and then queen to d4, whereupon I simply capture the rook. The key point is that when queen to d4 was played, AlphaZero considered queen to d7 to protect the 7th rank. Actually, a few moves earlier, when AlphaZero considered rook to f8 to protect the knight, we saw king to h2. Now, many chess players might consider playing rook to f7 to protect the rook. However, I can respond with a stunning move. You can pause the video here and try to figure out this crucial move. The best move is to consider knight to e5, attacking the rook. when the rook moves back, rook to e7 will come to attack the pawn, and queen to g6 will lead to checkmate in a few moves, ending the game. So, returning to the position, AlphaZero can't save its rook, which is why queen to d4 follows in the game. AlphaZero is trying to consider queen to d7 to protect the 7th rank, that's its idea. So, let me just capture the rook, and after the exchanges, we have rook to e7, followed by h5. After a couple of moves later, we have rook to e8 followed by knight takes f4. In this position, many chess players might consider queen to f6, but that move is completely vulnerable, which is why AlphaZero plays knight takes f4. As the king moves back, knight to g6 follows. Now, you can see that you can capture AlphaZero's knight, but it would lead to a drawable position after queen to h4 and queen to f2 check, resulting in a threefold repetition and a draw with support from the rook. Therefore, I opted to capture the pawn on h5 instead. After a few more moves, the king moves back, and there are some exchanges, rook to e3 followed by rook to h3. You can see that we are engaging in tactical maneuvers, chess dances. Eventually, we reach a position where I have a knight and rook versus AlphaZero's knight. I am clearly winning the game at this point. I push forward my a-pawn, and AlphaZero captures it. However, with a rook versus a knight, I am in a completely winning position, as I mentioned, by promoting to a new queen. I capture AlphaZero's knight and finally checkmate it on a8. It was a very good game. I hope you enjoyed it. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye, see you, take care.